From the sidelines to your ears, it's the BenchWarmers Podcast, where sports meets humor. I'm your host, Zach, and I'm joined by my co-host, Jordan. How you doing today?
Good. How are you, man?
I'm doing good.
That's awesome.
Doing
That's
real
awesome.
good.
What do we have on the itinerary today, buddy?
We're going to talk about the complete upset of the March Madness tournament. For a little bit, give our congratulations and our thoughts. We're going to get into the NBA because that is shaping up now. A lot of teams have clinched their playoff berths, and then we got like one team that can sneak in, depending. And then we're going to talk about Raw and SmackDown. Sound good?
Absolutely, man.
All right. Well, let's get into this March Madness tournament. So, I think it's no surprise to anybody that, that Duke lost. I mean, it's a surprise to everybody that they lost, but, how do I want to say
Well,
it?
I guess to your point though, is a lot of people were betting on Duke to lose because of of it being Duke. So in a way, yeah, you are writing with your wording. But I think
I just think it was like a complete implosion of Duke, though. I mean, I think a lot of people were also expecting them to win. Me, personally, I had them winning the whole thing.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And credit to Houston. I mean, they had an up-road battle against Duke. I didn't see that coming at all. And also credit to Florida because they had a hard match against Auburn. And Auburn's a pretty good team.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. Well, I mean, Houston too. Nobody expected those guys to go, and win it all. So that's the biggest shocker of all for here.
I'm betting a lot of people were just like my bracket. They had Michigan State and Duke.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
In the finals.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
But congratulations to Florida and Houston. Florida for winning it all by 2, so it was a really close game. Did you see, just a real quick, did you see the video of a guy celebrating their win, and he was on a traffic light and he fell?
No, I didn't.
Yeah. Dude was on, like, it looked like it was on a highway or something. You know, those traffic lights are high.
Right.
And he got up there and he was like bouncing on it. You could see it bouncing, and then he fell off. I don't know if he got hurt. I would assume he got hurt. I don't know how bad, but yeah, it was wild.
Oh yeah, dude, that sounds like Philadelphia. That's exactly
well, I never understand. I don't understand, like, what's so exciting about destroying your city over your sports team winning? Like, I don't understand that.
I don't
either. Just doesn't seem like very good, sports etiquette to me.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't the city of Philadelphia like greasing their light poles at one point in time, or something like that? So nobody.
They were greasing them right. Yeah, they were greasing them right before the Super Bowl, actually.
Like,
because they were having that issue the last time.
Right, and it's really, really bad. Like, to Zach's point, like, first of all, why would you want to destroy your city in the biggest moment of your city's, like, I don't know, career, life, what have you? I wouldn't. That's just nonsense. I mean, I understand. Trust me, I understand that. Under the influence of alcohol and all other things, dude, like, shit can get pretty hairy. But
yeah.
You play stupid games, you win stupid prizes, dude.
That's it. You also got to fuck around and find out, though.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, I'm not saying that I haven't tried to climb any fucking street lamps in my day, but it's never to the point where I've gotten to the top and done the dumbass thing of starting to bounce on this thing.
No doubt.
And by the
Well,
way, like I wouldn't be me if I didn't make this joke. Like why would another guy want to be bouncing on a pole nonetheless anyways? You know what I'm saying? Doo-doots.
man, I don't know. Hey, more power to them. You know, $20 is $20 from what they say, Jordan.
I guess so. I guess so, man.
But again, our congratulations to the Florida Gators. Well deserved win. So, we're going to branch off of college basketball and let's get into the pros here. So the Eastern Conference is all clinched up. It's ready to go. Your number one seed is the Cleveland Cavaliers, and number two is the Boston Celtics. And let me see. I believe they have the first round bye. If I'm not wrong, there. Let me look here.
Cleveland, I believe, yeah.
Yeah, Cleveland and the Celtics will have a first round bye, and so we'll get into the West, but so will the Thunder and the Rockets.
Yeah.
So those are your number one and number two seeds. I mean, I think we talked about this. They were already clinched at that point, but I think we were pretty close.
Yeah.
On who was getting in. And I'm glad to see that the Bucks are number 5. I'm a Bucks fan. So I'm hoping that they make it a long way. We'll have to wait and see how that goes. But then we'll get into the West, and our number 1 and number 2 are Oklahoma City and the Rockets. And so the West isn't all clinched up. There's still a team that can sneak in, and that's the Phoenix Suns. The Dallas Mavericks are they're the last team that could make the playoffs or that are in the playoffs, and the Suns can come back and take them out of it. I mean, they're 3 games behind. They have an up-road battle, but it's possible. Do you see the Mavericks kind of choking and coming out, or do you think the Suns are going to stay where they are?
Well, as I said before we started filming, I wouldn't. It's hard to say because Anthony Davis isn't in the rotation now for the Dallas Mavericks, and he's a really good defensive ball player.
Right.
So there's that too. And Dallas does. I mean, a lot of people think that the Mavericks are shit now because they lost Luka Doncic. Okay, so what? They still got Kyrie Irving, they got Klay Thompson, and now Anthony Davis is, like I said, is in the rotation. So this team was just in the finals, last year against my Boston Celtics, and they lost. But I don't see a problem with them being able to go back to the dance now. But Phoenix also is a contender. They have a really good roster themselves, as I stated before. Devin Booker and Kevin Durant, are on the team there. But the West, as it sits now, I mean, say the Mavericks do, make their way into the playoffs. It's not like they're going to beat any of the teams that are listed above, from OKC to Houston to the Nuggets to Golden State to the Clippers.
The Lakers.
Yeah, the Lakers themselves. The Lakers are moving.
And we talked about this before the podcast also. We talked about their remaining schedule, and I believe that we looked at it, and the Mavericks play the Lakers tonight.
Yeah.
So
that's going to be interesting.
And then the Suns, they play OKC.
Yep.
Yeah. I believe tonight, right? I said that?
Yeah. I believe that you did say that before we started.
Okay, filming. So they're playing the... So the Suns got the number 1 team in the West, and the Mavericks have the number 3 team in the West.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if they both lose, we're still in the same position. I think. I mean, I guess it would all depend on points and their divisional wins and whatnot.
Right.
If they end up tying. Which I don't think they're going to end up tying because the Phoenix Suns are 35 and 44 and the Mavericks are 38 and 41. But it could happen.
Yeah.
I'd like to see the Suns in it. I mean, I guess I'm I don't really care either way, though.
No, I
I
understand
don't.
that. I get that. But to your original question on the between the Suns and the Mavs, give me the Mavs here only because like I said, like it's going to be hard to stop Anthony Davis, who is an excellent defensive ball player, alongside the others that I mentioned as well. Um, I just don't see
And
the Mavericks going far.
you, I mean, you did say some big names there, though. You got Anthony Davis and all them other guys on that team. I mean, if they can scrap their way, I mean, they could be a Cinderella story.
Oh yeah, for sure.
They could make it to the Final Four. They could make it to the finals. I
Yeah.
mean, is it actually going to happen? I don't know, but and I think I agree with you. The Mavs are probably going to stay as the last team in the playoffs. They'll be at the 10th seed, but there's always a chance.
Always.
Anything can happen.
Always.
Um, then let's see if so. I'm looking at the brackets right now.
Yeah.
If things stay the way they are in the West, it would be the Kings and the Mavericks going up against each other,
Yep.
and the Grizzlies and the Timberwolves. Who do you got there on either one of those?
So you said the Mavs and the who?
The Kings.
Okay, so and if it comes down to Sacramento and Dallas, I still got Dallas. You mentioned that roster before, and those players that I named: Klay Thompson, Anthony Davis. Just those two alone, and that's not even mentioning Kyrie Irving, who, in my opinion, is the greatest dancer on the court today, or
Right.
possibly ever. When it comes to ball handling, I don't think that there's anybody that is better than Kyrie Irving. So I'd give me the Mavericks there.
Yeah, I kind of like that too. I think the Mavs could easily beat the Kings. Um, and then we got the Grizzlies and Timberwolves, which the winner of that one, the loser will face the Mavericks, and then the winner will go down and play the Rockets.
Mm.
So Grizzlies and Timberwolves.
Give me Memphis on there. I like the way John Morant is playing, even though he's got that off the court antics going on,
Yeah.
and he seems
Yep.
to always be getting. Oh, one thing, there's a couple of seconds on John Morant, brother. You need to stop that. Stop what you're doing. You're not built for that life. You're not built for that life at all. Stick the ball, because you're really, really good at that, and your team needs you. Your organization needs you. You don't need to be caught up in all that other nonsense, man. Don't do that. Stick the ball because this guy is phenomenal. He's a phenomenal guard, dude. And it seems like he's focused on all these other things. Should be focused on
Oh
winning
yeah.
championships, dude. So yeah, that's my take on John Morant. But give me the Grizzlies because the Grizzlies they are playing. And by the way, I think it was last year when John Morant had his suspension. The Grizzlies weren't doing too bad. I mean, they weren't really good, but they weren't doing too bad without him. With John
No,
Morant
they weren't.
with John Morant today, yeah, give me the Grizzlies. I'll take the Grizzlies over that. The Grizzlies move on.
Yeah, I think the Grizzlies move on too, mostly because I mean John Morant's a big game changer there,
Yeah.
and I think they have the better roster than the Timberwolves. So I'd take the Grizzlies as well. Um, and then we're not going to go through the whole bracket. I don't think not today because
Right.
time restraints and stuff. But we'll get into it more
Well,
when the
one
playoffs
more.
actually
Can
start.
we do one more? Who does Celtics
You want?
play?
Well, it depends
Because I see that they're the
I
number
was
two
just going to
seed.
start. I was just going to start in the East. We can do the first rounds in the East.
Oh yeah, yeah, for sure.
Um, Bulls Heat.
Bulls and the Miami Heat. Um, I'll take the
They
Miami Heat
they
on
got the
that.
same record. They got the same record. Heat's number 10. Bulls are 9.
Well, the only difference is this is a Miami Heat team without Jimmy Butler. And I
Right.
believe this is the first time that the Miami Heat are going to be in the playoffs without Jimmy Butler, and that's going to play a pivotal role in this game. You know, the Miami Heat Are they nothing without Jimmy, or are they something without him? This is their make or break point. They have to prove that they want this, and they can do it without Jimmy Butler, who is over there in the Bay playing for the Warriors. Um, yeah, I'd take I'll take the Heat on it though, because the Heat still got some guys out there that can ball.
Oh, they do. They got they got a really good center in Bam Adebayo.
Oh yeah,
Um, he's been playing really good. And he's been a good center. They also got Kevin Love down there. He's a good power forward. Uh, Nikolai Jovic, he's a good forward. So I mean, they got the good players to do it.
yeah.
Um, and the Bulls, I mean,
They got
what do they
Kobe
got
White
over
over
there?
there. He's a really good point guard. He
And they
can
got
really throw it
Lonzo.
down. Yep, they got Lonzo Ball, who's I mean, no offense to him, he's a journeyman, but he's also playing some good ball. Not really good ball, but he's playing ball nonetheless. The
Right.
Bulls are no slouch. There's a reason why they are where they are in the standings and possibly in the playoffs. Um, I don't. I just think that that roster that you named down there in Miami is going to
Yeah,
capitalize. They got a chip
yeah,
on
I
their
think
shoulder.
so too. Yeah, I think the Heat definitely go over the Bulls. Um, and just for that reason, they have the better team in my
Absolutely.
opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree.
And then you got the Magic and the Hawks.
Ooh.
The Magic are 39 and 40, and the Hawks are 37 and 42.
Man. Give me Atlanta. I like Trey Young, and the guy deserves a chip. Yeah, so give me
Yep.
Atlanta in that.
I would also say Atlanta, mostly just because of Trey Young. He's just a really good player.
Oh, absolutely.
And Orlando, I mean, they have obviously they have playmakers, but it's
Yeah.
not. I don't think there's anybody on there that's like really game changing.
Yeah, no. Like, if you take Trey
And
Young out of Atlanta, the Hawks, I don't even think the Hawks make it to the playoffs.
probably not. Probably not. So then, if we're going with the Hawks, it'll be the Celtics and the Hawks, and then the Magic would play the Heat because the Magic would go up to the losers
Right.
bracket with the Heat. Um. So yeah, you got the Hawks and the Celtics.
I'm a Boston Celtics fan. I'm going with the Celtics, who are the reigning defending world champions today. And
Right. Right.
I think that the only match for Boston right now, well, it's tough. I think the only two matches for Boston right now are the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Indiana Pacers. That's it.
Yeah, I could see that, but I mean, the Knicks have been doing real well.
Oh
I could
yeah,
see them giving them a run for their money. I mean,
absolutely.
they are
50
number
and
3.
29.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a bad team. It's not a bad team. And the Knicks,
And
I don't know, man. Just with the Knicks, it seems like it's always something with these guys, and
yeah,
that something leads to them not being able to get the job done. And I don't think that changes this year. I think that they put up a really good fight, but I think that they get taken out.
oh, more than likely. But I just wanted to point that out,
Absolutely.
mostly because the Knicks are they're going to be talked about as being in the finals.
Yeah.
Um,
100%.
I I don't think the Pistons beat the Knicks because that'll be the first round for them. And then the Bucks and the Pacers, that'll be a good. I think that'll be a good match between those two. Um, I'm gonna take the Bucks in that one mostly just because I'm a Bucks fan and I like Giannis Antetokounmpo, and that team's just really good. And it upsets me that they didn't do as good as they should have.
Oh yeah, for sure. Um, so while we're on the topic of Milwaukee, and I know that you like Giannis. I feel I like Giannis Antetokounmpo as well. I also like Damian Lillard. It seems like the Bucks are just, you know what I'm saying? Like they
Yeah,
were there, they won the title, and then slowly over time, like they started to come down the ladder. I mean, th- they're in a stat conference as of right now. I mean, just a
oh
few
yeah,
days ago, uh, you know, Well, even to now, because you look at the difference between the Western and the Eastern conferences, um, it's night and day here. You got from everybody over on the East who was respectively clinched their spot in the playoffs to the
Yep.
West, whereas it's more competitive and these guys are still fighting. Um, but with that being said, it's going to be a tough time for Milwaukee. It's going to be a tough time for all of these teams in the Eastern side of the conferences. It's going to be a lot for Milwaukee too, and that goes for the Pistons and the Pacers as well. Regardless of what I just said a minute ago, these all of these teams here that are in the top six, it's going to be tough. It's going to be really tough.
And
If you
and
ain't got, go ahead.
you bring up like the difference between the East and the West, and there is a huge difference. I mean, uh, you can look at almost every team in the East, and they have like glorified game-changing players, and some of them have multiple game-changing players. I mean, you look at the Bucks. We were talking about them. They got Giannis. He's a former MVP. Um, and they got Kyle Kuzma, who's a really good strong forward, you know, and then you got Brooke Lopez, who's been a center in the league for a long time. Uh, Kevin Porter Jr., he's been a good guard. Damian Lillard, like they have just those two alone, Giannis and Damian Lillard, they're both game changing players. So like, and you could go to any other roster on that east side, and you could probably find one or two game changers. And it's hard. I think it's hard to find that in the West.
Yeah,
You
absolutely.
know, besides the Hawks in the East, they only have that one. But I think you have a hard time finding multiple game changers in each team in the West.
Absolutely.
Besides the Thunders and the Lakers, you know, and the Rockets too. I think the Rockets have a pretty stacked roster too.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, absolutely. And like I said, it is a lot more, competitive. It seems like it over there in the Western Conference than it is, in the Eastern. That's going to play a big role into who moves forward over there in the
Oh
Western
yeah,
side of things.
most
It's going to
definitely.
come down to who wants it more, and
Yeah, who's
playmakers.
hungry?
Yeah, and if it comes now, if now since we're talking about it like that, you gotta bring up one, and I know you hate it. I know you hate it, Zach. But LeBron James, he's a deciding factor in all of this, especially with the Lakers. He look what he did last year and the year before that with them. He did win a championship with the Lakers, even though it was in the bubble and all that. And people's opinions differ on that championship. Nonetheless, it was a championship. And then you move to the Denver Nuggets, who just a few years ago were your world champions.
Yep.
And then obviously the Golden State Warriors, who, in a lot of people's eyes are the Kansas City Chiefs, the New England Patriots, the New York Yankees, the Red Sox of
They
the
were for a
NBA.
while.
Yeah, one of those dynasty teams like the Bulls were in the 90s and stuff like that. So I
Yeah, but the
understand.
Warriors aren't that anymore.
No, they're
They don't
not.
have they don't have Kevin Durant. They don't have the people that they did.
No, they have one deciding game factor though, and that's Stephen
Hmm.
Curry. Um, I mean, Draymond is in there too, but he's no Klay Thompson, and he's
No,
definitely not, Kevin Durant.
no, Kevin Durant in his prime.
Right. Um, so yeah, you gotta throw in these teams here. My pick for the West, though, even though OKC is running stuff right now, it's gotta be the Lakers for the West. It has to be. It's either the
I
Lakers or
don't
the
know.
Nuggets.
I don't know about that one. I mean, the Thunder are just too dominant right now. They're 65-14, uh,
And Shai
and they're
Gilgis
hot.
Alexander is a phenomenal ball player. Ball player. But when it comes to playoff appearances and playoff experiences, you ain't gonna find nobody better than Steve Kerr and the Golden State Warriors, or Nikola Jokic and the Denver Nuggets, or LeBron James and Luka Doncic and the Los Angeles Lakers. The Rockets, they're not in the caliber of those three teams that I just named. All of these teams are world. Those three teams are world champions in this era. in this era, and that's just three teams of the Western Conference. Not to mention, like, if OKC does happen to go and win the Western Conference Finals, they're going to have to go on and play somebody like Boston or Cleveland, or even, like you were saying, the Knicks, who
Right.
are no slouches on the court. And then in that case, it's over. It's over in the
I
finals.
just I just think it's hard to bet against Oklahoma.
Most definitely, it is because they're one of those
it's
sleeper
very hard to
teams.
bet against them because obviously that team has chemistry.
Yeah, but not
Obviously,
other.
because they're playing hot. I mean, to go 65-14,
When was
that's
the
pretty
last
good.
time? It was in the last 5 years. Didn't Was that Boston or was that Golden State that did that? It was something like that as well.
Yeah, it was. I know what you're talking about, and I can't remember what team it was.
But we're
And
starting
I'm
to
pretty
see
sure
this.
whatever team that was, I think they won the whole thing.
Yeah, and dude, my point of that is like I'm really excited to start seeing that because on the base, I know we're not talking baseball at all today, but on the baseball side of things, like somebody pointed this out, and
I do want to bring up one thing after we talk about NBA.
yeah,
You brought up baseball. I got to bring up one thing,
yeah, absolutely.
but keep going.
So what I'm really excited because we're starting to see these dominant teams and exciting sports being played on TV at the moment.
Yep.
Just on baseball from your boy over there in Pittsburgh, Paul Skeens, who is lighting it up on the mound right now. Home runs are being hit every single day. Dude,
Yep.
it's a very exciting time to be a sports fan in this era. I mean,
Oh, it definitely is.
the boomers could go on about Lawrence Taylor and Barry Bonds and everything else, but Nikola Jokic is scoring 61 points in one game in a triple double.
Right.
You know,
Right, and we brought that up the last time that you don't see centers score 61 points.
no, not at all, not at all, dude. So that's my point and all of that. But yeah. So for the West, I'm gonna go and stick with the Lakers, and then obviously on the East, I'm going with my Boston Celtics.
Yeah, it's hard to bet against the Thunder, and I'd have to go with the Thunder in the West. They're
That's a
just
great choice.
like I said before, they're hot. They're playing well together. Like it's gonna be hard to beat them, and I don't want to be like in the same narrative as everybody else. I don't like to go, the same. I want to be
Outside the
different,
box.
but yeah, I want to be outside the box thinking here. But it's hard to bet against the Thunder, in the West. And my East pick, to be honest, I'd like to see somebody else rather than the Celtics, Cavaliers, or the Pacers. Um, I'm just gonna hope and pray that the Bucks. I'm gonna say the Bucks take the East out of nowhere.
So you got, I'm writing it down. You got the Bucks and OKC, right?
Right, that's my pick.
Gotcha.
I mean, I don't see the Bucks making it, but I'd like to see that
It's a
happen.
shot, dude, and they got the talent to do it.
They do. They definitely do. They just got to get their ducks in a row.
Yeah, and I'm glad that you actually are taking because I mean, you got these and I'm no basketball historian whatsoever. You can just watch the show and
Me
that'll
neither.
tell you. And we like to pay attention to everything. Like I just said, it's an exciting time to be a sports fan in this era. A lot of good stuff is happening, but I'm glad that you picked these guys in OKC because it seems like they're a hot commodity for now because of Shy, but what happens when they lose?
Right.
Who's gonna be there to pick them up because they're gonna you know how this game works. The moment that they slip, it's gonna
Yep.
be it's over for OKC and all these other guys are gonna start coming down. And I'm glad that you picked them. So for those who are actually paying attention, I have the Boston Celtics and the Los Angeles Lakers for the NBA Finals. And Zach took the alternative route, which is still really good. These teams are really good from the both of us. The Milwaukee Bucks and the Oklahoma City Thunder. And I like both picks. I like my pick and I like his. These are solid rock solid picks, from the both of us. And
To be honest,
honestly,
if the Thunder weren't like doing as good, say they had like a closer record
yeah.
to everybody else, if I wasn't so sure about the Thunder, I would probably pick uh the Nuggets.
And I'd be all right with that too. I'd be all right
Yep.
with, yeah, dude. I mean, other than OKC, the teams that we were just talking about, like I said, they're all former world champions in this era. In
Yep.
this era, we're not talking early 2000, 2010. We're talking about right now. And all of these teams can get it done, especially the Oklahoma City Thunder, who are playing phenomenal ball, sitting pretty at 65-14. And though the Cleveland Cavaliers, who have a sort of similar record at 63-16,
Yeah,
um,
that's true.
they
It's true.
I
The
just don't.
Cleveland Cavaliers are playing hot too.
They are, but the only difference is like Zach and I said before, is the Cleveland Cavaliers are over on the eastern side, and it's just the Eastern Conference right now is a powerhouse between Boston,
Hmm.
the Knicks, Indiana, Milwaukee. You got the Hawks in there, the Pistons, and the Magic, and then on the western side of things, yeah, you do got LeBron James and Nikola Jokic and Steph Curry and stuff. It's not really, I mean, it's competitive over there, but it's not like it is over on the east.
Right. There's not such a discrepancy like between uh, wins and losses. They're
Yeah,
pretty close. All of them are.
right, absolutely.
The Grizzlies could very well be the third seed. They're 47-32. The Lakers were 48-31. It's so much closer, and they could easily have been the fourth or the fifth seed because they're tied with the Clippers and the Nuggets.
Yeah.
So it's very, like you said, it's very competitive in the West, and any one of those teams could be in the Final Four, and into my up against the Lakers or the Thunder, any of them.
Oh yeah, absolutely, 100%.
But
100%.
most definitely, the Final Four is definitely going to be, no, most definitely, but in my eyes, in the Final Four is going to be the Thunder, the Lakers, and the Celtics, and I'm going to pick the Bucks because they're my pick to go to the finals. But I have a feeling that's going to be the Final Four. But realistically, you can replace my Bucks with the Cavaliers because again they're playing hot ball, or you could make up your own mind. You could look at the stats, you could do whatever you want, but the Thunder, the Lakers, the Cavalier, and the Knicks, I'm betting they're going to be in the Final Four, but it's too hard to pick, to be honest.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no doubt, no doubt.
So now we talked about the playoff picture in the NBA. We talked about our picks, and we'll get once. I mean, this is all speculation because this is if the playoffs started today. There are games this weekend. There's a couple of games that actually mean something for the Mavs and the Suns and stuff because those could switch. And then the last day for games is Sunday, and the playoffs start on the 15th.
Right.
So we'll get more into it when it's more ironclad, but more than likely, this is what the bracket's going to look like. But we'll just get more into it when next week comes. So you brought up baseball.
Yeah.
The only thing I want to really touch on, one is that I want to rub it in a little bit. The Pirates beat your Yankees. One
I
game
seen
this
that.
weekend. One game. That's fine. That's all I needed. But that big contract that Vlad Jr. just got, 12-year for $500 million.
It's a lot of money.
Man, I don't know how baseball can afford this. Like I know you said it's an exciting time to be a sports fan, right? And baseball's hit or miss with people. Either you really love it or you really hate it.
Yeah.
Because to be honest, it is a drag to watch on TV. It really is.
It is.
It's a lot of downtime. It's a lot of, they hit the ball and they're out right away, and or it drags on forever. You could watch a game forever.
Mm-hmm.
So how can these teams afford to pay out these kind of contracts?
The only thing that I can possibly think of is we'll start here. Like Major League Baseball has been a thing for over 100 years.
Right.
It's one of those things that have been, long before football, basketball. It's one of those things that is, globally like known to the point where you could go in most of these, third world countries and probably they know, who, most of these stars. So that plays a lot into it. Just like the NBA, which is a little less, like I would say about a couple pegs down from the MLB when it comes to money. By the way, the MLB, I don't know if you knew this, but the NBA was the first. You can blame the NBA for the the salary cap. That's who that came from. But
Yeah.
yeah, I
The
think
NBA pays out a lot.
yeah, I think what it is that there's a bigger market for baseball all over the world, rather than we're just starting to break the market for the NFL. Think of soccer, or football if you're over in overseas. That's another a big one where these teams are just forking out money, loads of money. Um, the only yeah, so that would be my take on it is it's there's a way bigger market for Major League Baseball than there is for like the NFL, or I mean you could even throw the NHL in there. I mean I know the NHL ain't up there with money. They are, but they're not. It's international stardom. Like
Right.
when you think of soccer, the first person that comes to my mind at least is CR7 Cristiano Ronaldo, or
Yep.
for on the baseball side of things, you got the Dodgers, Aaron Judge, Mookie Betts, and then
I
obviously
mean,
the
there's so
NBA.
many stars in the MLB. There really is. I mean,
Yeah.
you could probably go up to anybody and say who's the best player on the Dodgers, and Shohei Ohtani.
Yep. Yep.
And he's probably one of the best players in the league. I would beg, I would die on that hill. I mean, Shohei's a fucking stud.
He is. He really is,
You
dude.
know,
So that would be my take on it. Is that there's a way bigger market. Like I mentioned before, is that we're starting to dive into that on the NFL with games that are being played over in Mexico now, Germany, even down to the NCAA. I've seen that they were over in Ireland, I think it was, for their opening day against Notre Dame, I believe it was. Don't quote me on that, but I believe it was Notre Dame playing over in Ireland. I remember that frankly because of Sheamus was there from the WWE.
oh yeah, yeah.
He was there for the opening day for Notre Dame playing over there in Ireland. Yeah, so that bigger market, and I so when it comes to the NFL, Pat Mahomes, I believe that he has one of those $500 million contracts or close to it for 10 years too. Um,
That's right. He did sign a pretty big contract.
yeah, but that's the only one that I've seen. I mean, then you got Caleb Williams, who is going out, on a public forum saying that, he sees himself being the first ever $1 billion,
Yeah,
NFL athlete, which
right.
I don't see that,
The
considering
Bears
that.
better let him throw the fucking ball if he wants that.
Yeah, he better go over to baseball if he wants that. There's, I,
But you
yeah,
know, I just wanted to bring that touch on that because it's big news, and congratulations to Vlad Jr.
yeah,
Uh,
absolutely,
for getting that money, and he deserves it. I mean, he's got to be one of the best first basemen in baseball.
for sure.
Uh, and he can hammer it. I mean, he can hammer home runs. And congratulations to the Blue Jays for locking him up because I would believe any team in the MLB would want a Vladimir
Speak.
Guerrero Jr.
Oh, absolutely. Speaking of the Toronto Blue Jays, did you happen to see Josh Allen hitting those fucking dingers?
I saw that.
Oh my God.
He was at one of the games. He was at opening day, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was.
Yeah.
I seen that. That was sent to me by my dad from CBSSports.com. No, my dad doesn't work for CBSSports.com. I found it on CBSSports.com. He showed me that, and he was like, he brought up a really interesting question, and that is because he brought up Kyler Murray and how Kyler Murray was also drafted to the MLB as well.
Right.
He asked me, he said, do you think that it would be possible for Josh Allen to sign a multi-sport contract? And I said, that's a really good question because it would be more than just permission from the Buffalo Bills. You'd have to throw
Right.
Roger Goodell in there, along with the MLB to see, you know, y- uh, the
It would have
negotiations.
the problem you have with that is it collides with the NFL season.
It does.
It depending on if they make the playoffs or not, because the playoffs for the MLB go all the way into October.
Yeah.
I
Yep.
believe the World Series is usually in October.
Yeah.
Um, so, and that's a quarter of the way into the NFL season. So
That,
you'd really have, like, I don't know if you really could.
I don't
Uh,
know, because he was talking. He was like, what if it's a DH? A designated hitter. So even then, you're still kind of
yeah,
pushing into it.
even then, you still have to show to practice.
Yeah,
I mean, you still
absolutely.
have to be at OTAs or mandatory meetings and stuff like that. And
Mm-hmm.
like again, that probably would collide with what you got going on in football, and especially because the MLB play, you know, in the summer for their main season,
Mm-hmm.
and then the NFL has all their training days and their practices and everything else going on in the summer to get ready for August.
Yeah.
So I I don't ever think it's going to happen unless you had like what's a sport that doesn't collide with baseball. I think that's only hockey.
Yeah, I would say yeah, hockey.
So you could get a hockey player to do that, but
Well, don't
I
wait, no,
don't.
don't hockey start up in October or I mean November?
Yeah, that's what I mean. Um, if if you had a hockey player, they could definitely do it because
Yeah.
they start in November or whatever it is, and
Mm-hmm.
the MLB season would end then, and it
Right.
doesn't collide with it because I think the NHL. I want to say that their season ends right around the time that baseball starts. I could be wrong. I'm more than likely wrong on that, but
I
that's
think
what I
we're into
want
the
to say.
playoffs with the NHL. Or we're pretty close to getting into the playoffs with the NHL. Um, Let me check. Yeah, I
Yeah, I'm
think.
probably
Yeah, I
completely wrong.
think. No, no, I think that you were right. What are the standings for? Oh yeah, we're 77 games in and into the NHL. 79 games in to the NHL.
Right now.
Yeah,
So they play the same time.
yeah, yeah. We're in
Uh,
playoffs. We're in playoff
they're
for
in the playoff.
NHL.
Okay. Yeah. No. So I think any multi-sport contract is off the table really because you got too much shit going on.
Absolutely. My biggest point was, the money, and the fact that he's the position that Josh Allen plays is it's not like he's like a you couldn't even throw a running back in there. It's not like he's an offensive lineman or some other. He's a
Right.
quarterback of not just any franchise. This is a playoff franchise, maybe Super Bowl contender. Uh,
Right.
so a lot of that would go into my thing was the money though the money, the marketing, and now Zach throwing in the time, and that makes a lot of sense. And then I just saw this too. You got to throw in the injuries that could happen. A lot of people don't understand that you could rotator cuffs. Think of all the muscles that are in just your shoulders and your back and your chest and your abdomens as well.
Yeah. Your hips, everything too.
Yeah, a lot of that
Everything.
plays was swinging that bat, and Josh Allen being, he's the reigning NFL MVP. Uh, I don't think that would be a good idea. It was really nice to see him go out there and hit a whole bunch of home runs in that BP. Maybe it's just he just needs to stick to the NFL.
Right. No, definitely just stick to the NFL, mostly because what you just said, he's a franchise quarterback.
Yeah.
If he goes out there and tries to hit a dinger every time and blows his rotator cuff, he's fucked.
Yeah, absolutely
You
fucked.
know, I mean, then it is his whole season's done.
Yeah, 100%.
So, so just to move off of this again, congratulations to Vladimir Guerrero Jr. on that big contract, and congratulations to the Jays. Um, I look forward to always seeing what Vlad can do. I'd like to watch Jay's games sometimes, mostly just to see what he does. Uh, I I switched to T-Mobile recently, and they gave me a free year of the MLB season, so I can watch any game I want, which is really nice.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. I know
Yeah.
that you and I were struggling with that. I think it was last year or 2 years ago. We were trying to find to watch these local games for us, or even any
Yep.
MLB game, because all I got here in Western New York is the Yes Network, and I'm a Yankees fan, but sometimes like the Yankees games aren't even on the Yes
Yep.
Network, and
That's
that's
the same thing with Pittsburgh. A lot of times their shit gets blacked out, which is I don't understand why, but
yeah, I don't either.
I don't understand why some MLB games get blacked out and all that other stuff. But okay, so we're gonna get off of MLB. We've done enough bullshitting. And more than likely, hopefully, we follow Jordan's note that he made for himself
Yeah,
when we
dude.
get into wrestling.
45 minutes in, and we're probably gonna go another 3 fucking hours, bud.
Yeah, I'd rather not. So let's get into this WWE. We'll start with Raw.
Yeah,
There's a
dude.
couple things we want to hit up on Raw. The first thing is Rhea Ripley being added to the women's world title match against Io and Bianca Belair. And we've talked about this before. I don't like how they're just pushing Rhea into everything. This is Bianca and Io's moment, mostly Io's moment.
Yeah.
It's her moment to headline a WrestleMania. I don't think they're going to main event one, but she's going in as champion. It should be her moment. Bianca and Rhea have had their times as champion. I'm pretty sure Bianca's went to WrestleMania as a champion. Rhea Ripley definitely has.
Yep.
So why snub Io like this? I don't understand.
I think what they're doing is because Io lacks that star power, unlike Bianca Belair and Rhea Ripley. If it was up to me, I mean, if you watch the show, you know that I seen this coming, and Zach and I have already discussed this before, and so you know what our true stance is on this. And over time, I'm starting to sort of understand it, and at least in my opinion, what I think that they're trying to do is they're trying to build Io up here. But all they had, if they really wanted to do that, Zach, all they had to do was just book Io against either Bianca Belair, who is the rightful, challenger in this match, because she jumped through the hoops and won the chamber. The stipulation for the chamber was you win this match, and you go on to fight for the championship.
Yep.
It wasn't you win this match and you go and feud with some other fucking individual and then get a championship match with this individual. That's not the way this thing
Right.
works. So they could have went that route with either booking, Io Sky versus Rhea Ripley or Io Sky versus Bianca Belair at WrestleMania, and that they would have tore the house down. I mean, this match is going to be good nonetheless because all three of them can actually go. I've just kind of like before I was for it. I understand why they were doing it because Rhea Ripley is a mover. She could sell the merch. She can go on the mic. She has the fans behind her and all kinds of stuff like this. Whereas now it feels like a Roman Reigns, John Cena-esque thing where it's like, hey, here's Rhea Ripley, shove it down our throat.
Right.
I just don't like that. There's other ways that we could go about this, and you could definitely have if you wanted Rhea Ripley on that card. You could have it's not like they're starving for
You could
women
have put her in the
champions.
chamber.
Yeah.
You definitely could have put her in the chamber.
Or what about their women's intercontinental champion? Lyra Valkyria, who just had a really good match with Bailey on that
Yep.
on that same episode of Raw that we're talking about. You could have if you want to build stars, who better to do it than, like I just said, Rhea Ripley. Put
Yep.
Rhea Ripley in a match for the Intercontinental Championship against Lyra Valkyria, have Lyra win the belt, and boom, you boosted
Yep.
it.
But I don't think they would do that with a huge star like Rhea Ripley. I don't.
You don't think so?
No, they're not going to have her like lose to. I'm not saying that Lyra's a nobody because she's the Intercontinental Champion.
She feels like a nobody right now.
but they're not gonna. I don't think they would make her lose to Lyra, mostly just for that reason.
Yeah, I what I think is gonna happen with this match at WrestleMania is Io Sky is gonna win, but she's not
I
gonna
hope
pin.
so.
She's not gonna pin Rhea Ripley. It's gonna come down to Rhea Ripley, hitting Bianca Belair with some
Yeah, she's
move.
gonna hit her with a riptide, or it's a triple threat match, so they can use weapons, no DQ.
Yeah,
So it's gonna be like you always see it in a finish or in a triple threat finish. They're each gonna hit their finishing move. The last one who does is gonna be the one that's pinned.
yeah, absolutely.
You know, so that's definitely it's probably Bianca's probably gonna hit her with the EST and hit Rhea with it, and then Io's going to come in with her. I think doesn't she do like a
She
450
does.
splash or something
No,
like
she
that?
does that. It's like that Macho Man elbow,
Oh yeah. So and then I think that's what's going to end it
and then
there.
yeah,
But
we'll end up getting a Rhea Ripley versus Bianca Belair WrestleMania Backlash match because that's just how WWE works, man.
yep, and then the winner of that'll probably go on to face Io, and then we'll see where that goes. But yeah, I'm iffy on this match, but I do agree with you that Io wins at WrestleMania.
Yeah.
Um, and it'll get her over, but like you said, she's not going to pin Rhea. But about that contract signing though, you know, Rhea and Bianca made it all about them. It
They
was,
did. For
Io wasn't even in the conversation,
this is the
really.
second night in a row too.
Yep. And Io got sick of it. She
Yeah,
she came off that top rope and fucking drop kicked Rhea right into Bianca Belair, and
she
I
did.
loved every second of it.
Yeah, and then that last shot that we got of Io Sky, that's the way it should have been this whole time, dude. This whole
Yep.
time. I mean, because it's not like Io is that new. She's
No.
been, from Damage Control to her work in NXT. She's and not to mention, I believe she's a former WWE Women's Champion.
Yep. She is.
So I don't
And she's a
understand.
former tag champion too.
Yeah, exactly. She should be right up there. Her character and her star power should be right up there with Bianca Belair. We can't say Rhea Ripley because Rhea Ripley is one of those, up there main
She's a
event.
mega star right
Yeah,
now.
yeah, she's up there with Charlotte and all those other cats. Io should be somewhere near that, and it just doesn't feel like it.
I think so too. Um, so we got our picks for that. We talked about Lyra Valkyria defeating Bailey with the Women's Intercontinental Championship match. Do we know anything? Is Lyra going to be at WrestleMania? Sometimes they don't do all the titles.
Yeah, I don't think I haven't seen anything. I
Okay.
know that she had that. She didn't beat Bailey clean. It was via roll up, but
Right.
Lyra won nonetheless. I think that she could have gotten away with beating Bailey clean. It probably would have done a lot more for her if she did beat Bailey clean.
Right.
Because Bailey is like Zach and I were talking about with Rhea. Bailey is up there in that same category with Rhea Ripley. She could sell. She could put asses in seats, and so I think that would have done Lyra Valkyria a lot of good if she did that. But seeing that match and not thinking about it, maybe we could work that story into WrestleMania 41 with the Intercontinental Championship of the Women's Division, Lyra Valkyria versus Bailey Part 2. I wouldn't
Yep.
mind seeing that as a filler match at WrestleMania Night 1. I just don't see them doing that again. I
Probably
don't know
not.
why, but I just don't. I think that
You're
the
probably
big
right.
picture. I think that the big picture here is the CM Punk and Roman Reigns and Rollins thing, mainly
Yep.
the John Cena thing, which is going to sell out night 2, and then whatever SmackDown's got, for their championships, Um,
Yeah,
I
most
don't know.
definitely. I think you're right on that. I just sometimes they put in the Intercontinental and the U.S. title at WrestleMania, uh, but I think they have a lot on this card right now, and I don't. they probably won't be able to fit it in.
Yeah,
They're more than likely, although LA Knight at WrestleMania would get a huge pop.
he deserves it, dude. I don't
He
understand why we're
does.
not building a WrestleMania match for LA Knight right now, who is
Right.
the reigning United States champion. It seems like the WWE, in my opinion, dude, is just all over the place. You guys know how I feel about the whole thing. My biggest thing is like we'll start with this, dude. Why, if we're gonna do a whole brand split with a draft and a superstar shakeup and all these portals and stuff like that, if we're gonna keep it like that, why am I seeing Cody Rhodes on SmackDown
Yeah.
and
We brought
Raw
this up last
and
episode.
NXT? And it takes away from Gunther,
It does.
who is doing his damnness to make this match mean something. Because people's opinions, dude. People's opinions about this match between Gunther and Jay, who just came off of a really good promo. We'll get into that. Um, he's doing his damnness to make something of this, to do his part in selling this to make this match interesting. And how the hell is he supposed to do that when every fucking Monday night you got Cody Rhodes and John Cena and The Rock on his show?
Yep.
You can't. It's impossible to do it. Just one of those
No,
guys
definitely.
alone will take the entire limelight away from Gunther. That's not fair.
No, it's not fair. And, I don't understand why they're doing it either. Mostly, I could probably see it's because they want more views.
Yeah,
Maybe
absolutely.
they're not getting the views that they did now that they switched to Netflix. Maybe that has something to do with it. I don't know. Because not everybody has Netflix, and there's a lot of older people that watched wrestling every week, and they only have cable, or DirecTV or Dish or whatever they have,
Yeah.
and they don't stream. So you lost that demographic, really. You
Mm-hmm.
lost the older generation,
You did.
and like I think maybe that's what they're seeing, but who knows? I don't know what Triple H is thinking, or what his plans are, or TKO's plans, but that would be my guess on it.
Yeah,
And I don't
absolutely.
agree with it either. I don't agree with what they're doing. Cody Rhodes being on Raw and SmackDown and NXT. Fuck, is he going to show up on TNA now? And
Exactly. Exactly.
it just it does baffle me a little bit, but nothing we can do about it but bitch about it.
And another thing too is, and I mentioned this to you before, in our chat, the fact that they completely shit on the whole fucking Royal Rumble. I mean, Jey Uso and Charlotte Flair are supposed to headline each night of their respective matches in
They're supposed to
WrestleMania.
main event.
Yeah, it's supposed to
They're
be night
supposed to
one
main event
Charlotte Flair,
WrestleMania.
night two Jey Uso.
Yep.
But we're not doing that. So you
No.
literally shit on all of that Royal Rumble and the history of the Royal Rumble. Just you're basically selling your soul, which, I mean, that's the whole idea of the main plot and the main storyline in WWE today is selling your soul to The Rock. But
Yeah.
I mean, it just doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense at all, dude. Like
No.
Zach said, that they're not gonna change it. We sound like broken records here, nonetheless, dude. But that Penta match that you brought up before we started, dude, that was nice.
Yeah, it was. I just want to bring up one thing. I want to ask your opinion on it before
Yeah.
we get to the Penta match. So, and this can be quick. El Grande Americano.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's Chad Gable.
Yeah.
I like what they're doing with that. Okay, but I seen this thing and it made me think. Is this kind of shitting on luchadors?
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
Like,
Absolutely.
what do you think luchadors think of this?
I take it
I
as
just
and the worst part about it is they try to throw legends in there like Rey Mysterio in there to
Yep.
make it seem like, oh, yep, this is okay, this is fine. No, Rey Mysterio's in there to do his job, and he's gonna do his job because he's a professional, and he's a great,
Right.
great professional. If they wanted to use this as a short, like a joke or a storyline, okay, then so be it. Don't drag it on. That's exactly what they're doing. Everybody knows it's Gable. Okay, you try to
Right.
pull the wool over our eyes when we had that backstage segment of Gable being interviewed, and then you know, the masked luchador who we all knew was Gable's tag team partner of the Creed brothers, uh, in that shot. They could have done it in a short, way. I
Yep.
thought all of this was just to bring in Ray Phoenix. I'm not gonna lie. I really thought because it seemed like Gable had moved over to SmackDown or was over there, and then you know all of a sudden now we got vignettes of this mass luchador, and then you cut the next week. Gable's in Mexico and doing all this other stuff and I don't know, man. I think that this is a kick in the nuts too. Not just luchadors, but think of AAA down there in Mexico, who is
Yeah.
a notable, recognizable, legendary promotion. Um, I
And
would
even
love to
Lucha
pick their.
Underground.
Oh yeah, even those guys too. You know, I this has gone on like too long for me, dude.
Yep.
Way
Yeah, the
too long.
gimmick they should have ended the gimmick a while ago, and hopefully they do. Like I said, I liked it at first, but you said it best. They're dragging it on too long.
Yeah.
But there's our thoughts on El Grande Americano.
One more thing though, onto that, I just for some reason I thought of this too, and I would love to get your quick take on it. Um, are they overdoing the Kurt Angle references here with Chad Gable?
No, I don't
No.
think so.
Okay, that was just
No,
something that I had
I
seen on the
think
internet.
I think I've seen Kurt Angle talk about Chad Gable actually on a podcast. I could be wrong, but maybe he was talking about something else. But I kind of like it. I like
Thank you.
because I liked the Kurt Angle angle that they did. I liked the character that Kurt Angle had.
Dude, remember this.
He was a
Remember,
old.
you're a boy and I'm a man.
Yeah.
Oh no, dude. Oh no.
I liked the character that Kurt Angle did. All his characters, really, when he first started, and he had that feud with Stone Cold and all that other stuff. And then when he went to TNA, I really liked his characters.
Yeah, absolutely.
The character that he's better than you. He's an Olympian. He's a gold medal winner. So, and I like the angle that they're doing with Chad Gable. It's so much better than what it was when they called him Shorty G. Shorty G was terrible.
Yeah, Vince's
Um,
worst idea by far was probably the Shorty G thing.
yeah,
That and the
definitely.
King
And then,
Corbin.
yeah, King Corbin was pretty bad. But and then Gable when he came in, who is he? He tag teamed with somebody.
Okay, so
It was
you're
what was
referring
his
to
name?
Alpha Academy, not Alpha Academy. It was Alpha something
Yeah, it was with
Jason Jordan.
Jason Jordan.
And that
Yeah,
that
and
tag team
actually
was
that was a
good.
good tag team.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I liked it.
It was good. And then, Chad Gable went on the singles division and didn't do that hot. I think, to be honest, I think he deserves a title too. He's been putting
Mid-card?
in that work.
Mid-card or main event? Because I could see it going either
Mid-card.
way. If they want to put
I think
not
right
the
now
WWE though.
What's that?
I'm sorry. No, go ahead. I'll fill in later. Go ahead. You can finish.
No, I think a mid card right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Give him the IC title and see what he does with it, and
Yeah.
then you can put him in the main card. But I also think that his Alpha Academy run,
Yeah.
I like that too. I really like the Alpha Academy. I like Otis.
Yeah.
I like Otis has got to be like some of my favorite work right now, and
Yeah.
he's up there in one of my favorite wrestlers. Just how he is, he's a big guy and he's hilarious.
Yeah, he is, dude. He
So-
is.
So yeah, I just think that Chad Gable needs to talk to whoever he needs to talk to and get out of this gimmick right now.
Absolutely. Well,
But
for
The
starters,
Kurt Angle thing is fine with me.
yeah. Okay, so the reason why I had brought that up is because his name was on a list of things that I seen on a Twitter rant, and it started because of I don't know if you pay attention to NXT, but Ricky Saints is your new NXT North American champion, who is a former AEW talent, and he is being accused of stealing stuff from The Rock, and I mean I could see it, but what I don't agree with is because they threw LA Knight in there and his stuff with Stone Cold, and they threw Kurt Angle and Chad Gable in there, and you. I mean, Zach, you know how because you feel the same way as I do about LA Knight, and now I know that you feel the same way I do about Chad Gable. I don't find anything wrong with these current stars, especially the good ones, like LA Knight, like Chad Gable, who are pulling from the past because they have similar backgrounds. Like Chad
Right.
Gable, who's an amateur wrestler, and was brought in, you know, with Kurt Angle. I mean, think of Jason Jordan and Kurt. I mean, Kurt Angle, Jason Jordan, and Chad Gable. In
Yep.
the American flag singlets. Tearing it up on the tag team division, and to Chad Gable, being granted, his blessing by Kurt Angle for the "You Suck" chant.
Yep.
Stone Cold not having a problem with LA Knight, doing it, doing anything, and not to mention there's these people. I don't feel like these people are paying enough attention. I feel like they're just seeing these little 5 to 60 second clips of, just one thing.
Yeah.
They're not unpacking everything like LA Knight with the yeah chants or his cadence and the way he talks, and he talks just like this. He does that to get the audience invested, and if he wasn't like that, I'd be kind of concerned and asking questions like, do you even want to be here? Because I'm not interested. And as a fan,
Right.
I feel like if I'm not interested, other people aren't going to be interested at all either. So,
Yeah,
I
you're
guess,
right about that. And honestly, pay attention to how they're LA Knight is using some of Stone Cold Steve Austin persona. Yeah,
absolutely.
most definitely. But they're different characters. They're way different characters. Stone Cold was a badass. He was the troublemaker. He was, uh anti boss, anti higher ups. He was the anti hero, you know. And LA Knight's not that. He's not the badass.
No.
He's playing like a cocky character.
Yeah, he's like a
You know,
cocky
that's
Hollywood guy.
right. Yes. And then you got the Chad Gable and Kurt Angle. Kurt Angle, he he knew what he was. He was an Olympian, da 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 da, and he was better than everybody else. You know,
Oh yeah.
most just because of that. And Chad, his character isn't that. He's not saying that he's better than everybody. He's not saying that, he's an Olympian. He's not an Olympian. But his character is much different than Kurt Angle's. Yes, there's some similarities, but they're different. And I implore people to watch side by side
Yeah,
on their
absolutely.
promos. Their promos are completely different. So to your question, this is all fine with me, and the people that want to bitch about it, they're just finding something to bitch about,
Yeah, so I
to
guess
be honest. And maybe it's nostalgic to us because we watched Kurt Angle, we watched Stone Cold, we watched The Rock.
mhm.
Again, maybe it's nostalgia
But
that we're seeing this,
right.
but I don't think there's any reason for people to bitch.
So I guess my follow-up would be is do you implore like these guys go out and actually before they go out and I mean you got your First Amendment rights, freedom of speech is always going to be there, and all Zach and I do is sit here and on our asses and critique the world of sports.
Mhm. Yep.
Um, but I feel like Zach and I, especially when it comes to the world of WWE, we've been fans with this a long time, so we've seen a lot. Um, I feel like if you find yourself in that situation or at that crossroads of being a fan of either either or. You know, it didn't matter. Chad Gable, LA Knight, or Ricky Saints. Um, go and do your own like research. You know, yeah, go ahead, listen to us. I want you to listen to us and you know but also take our opinions with a grain of salt and go back and watch. You know, they got stuff on Netflix now. Or they, you know, the world of YouTube itself, and don't forget to hit that
Yeah.
subscribe button and like button on ours as well. But go back and do your own, dude.
And
Because
they have the whole archive on Peacock too, I
yeah,
believe.
yeah, just like Zach, yep, Zach hit the nail right on the head there. They have that whole world of everything from even back from the '80s too, and on YouTube you can go and find Bruno Sammartino, uh, um, uh, Hacksaw Jim Duggan, Big Jim, all of those guys. You could find them all.
Boo!
Absolute. Or what was Hillbilly Jim, dude? Do you
Hillbilly Jim, the
dude,
Bushwhackers too.
yeah. Oh yeah, the bushwhack. Don't forget what's his name? No, the opposite of Animal and Hawk. Who were they? Typhoon, and
Yeah.
Earthquake.
Yeah,
Earthquake.
Typhoon and Earthquake. Yeah.
So that's my whole rant is like,
And
don't be
I
quick
don't
to
think people
judge.
understand. Also, you know, they want to bitch about Chad Gable. They want to bitch about L.A. Knight. They should bitch about Bronson Reed too.
Yeah.
He's using Earthquake's move.
Yeah.
Earthquake and Typhoon.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, how about Randy Orton? I mean, granted, he got permission from DDP. He still took
Right.
the diamond cutter from him.
essentially, he made it a little bit different.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But
it's
but you see what I'm saying?
essentially the
It's
same
also in the
move.
same realm because there's a little bit that's different from Chad Gable and Kurt Angle. There's like there's a little bit different from LA Knight and Stone Cold or Ricky Saints on The Rock. And when it comes to Ricky Saints or I forget what they called him in AEW. That's not important. But it was a promo between him, Ricky Saints, and Edge on AEW television where Edge called him out and says, "Yeah, you stole your stuff from The Rock." And after that, that has, I mean, they were making these kinds of comments before then, but even more so, you know, when somebody of the star caliber of Edge is going out there and saying that kind of stuff, you know. I think that's what really took it over, and you know, people are followers.
Yep.
They are quick to you know, just jump on the bandwagon instead of actually going and looking at it and, you know, looking through archives of talents. Like you'll see that The Rock wasn't The Rock in '97. He was Rocky Maivia.
Yep.
You know, up until the Nation of Domination, and he wasn't even The Rock, the People's Champ then.
Nope.
He was carrying bags for Farouk. And then after that, that's when we started to see, you know, more
Rock
and more and
form.
more of
Yeah.
The Rock. You know, and just like Stone
Right.
Cold, you know, the Hollywood Blondes to his work
Yep.
in ECW, it took years and years and years for him to pull from other superstars and backstage talent. You know, the greatest mind that I can think of, and I know I'm on a rant and I'm looking at my fucking note, Zach, and it's kind of pissing me off that I'm doing this.
Well,
But let me finish this up real quick. The greatest mind that I've ever know about is Bobby the Brain Heenan, who is
Bobby the Brain Heenan. Yeah.
who is a megastar. But Pat Patterson, and I know that his name is smudged and dirty at the moment,
Yep.
and I'm not talking about Pat Patterson outside of the ring. I'm talking about Pat Patterson, you know, the genius that he is, the first ever Intercontinental Champion. You know, all of the work that and all of the knowledge that he has, you know, provided for all of these guys. You think that he just came up with all that on his own? No, he's pulling from old stuff and new stuff, from culture, everything. You know, it's more than just the world of wrestling that these guys are pulling from. It's their everyday lives, culture,
Yep.
you know, what has shaped them into the human being, not the character, but the human being that they are, man. And yeah, that's my rant on that. But yeah, definitely go and do your own research.
Yeah. My ending thing on this, I think I'll get sick of it if they actually start to copy. Like,
Yeah,
if you
absolutely.
actually get a Kurt Angle like copy, you get an actual Stone Cold copy.
Yeah.
You know, anything like that. If they're copying, you know, everything, then that's probably when I'll have a problem with it.
Yeah.
But all right, so we're gonna move on. We're gonna make these. We kind of went a little long on this it's fine.
Yeah.
But we're gonna touch on some things here. Um, well, first on the chopping block here, the CM Punk promo,
Yeah.
which was really good.
I thought so too.
And we still don't know what the favor is.
No, we do now. Yeah, we do.
Do we?
Yes, sir.
I must have missed that.
Well, so I thought, just like everybody else thought about the favor, was that CM Punk being the main event of WrestleMania.
Yeah.
And then, that was not this past episode of SmackDown, but the one before that. And now, at the end of that episode, CM Punk had mentioned, "Oh, by the way, Paul, that was not the favor." Talking about the main event spot, it was something else. So, cut to this past week's SmackDown, we find out that the favor is for Paul Heyman to be in the corner of CM Punk at WrestleMania, not Roman Reigns.
That's right. I did see that.
I think that is great television because it's long-term storytelling for me. Because if you think about it, before WrestleMania 40, Cody Rhodes had mentioned something to Roman Reigns, and that stuck out to me. And I did not. This is a Twitter fan page that brought this up to me. He said, "You will be a chief without a tribe, without a wise man. Basically stripped down to nothing." And the last person, a part of this quote-unquote bloodline, is Paul Heyman. That's all that is left. Jimmy is over with Jay, helping him win the world title. Solo has his own thing going on with Jacob Fatu and the Tonga twins. It just leaves Paul Heyman left by his side.
Yep.
I think that this implodes.
I think it's really good storytelling.
I think it is too.
I'm kind of excited to see how this plays out.
Me
and
too.
What it does for Roman Reigns.
I know where you stand on Roman Reigns. You know that I oppose that, but as a fan of Roman Reigns, dude, I really would like to see this reset for him. We got a glimpse of what he can do as a heel. We got a glimpse of what he can do on his own without a mouthpiece, sorta, because Paul Heyman is there. But my point is, we've gotten a lot more out of Roman Reigns, in the 2020s than we ever had before on the mic. And I can't wait to see what they have next. I'm assuming after Mania, he's going to take another a break or whatever, and come back. Switch. So yeah, I'm excited for that, and that's as a Roman Reigns fan. Now to switch over to CM Punk, I feel like this is something brewing for John Cena, because if you remember the 400 something days or whatever it was that CM Punk was champion, yep. Paul Heyman was by his side, and the main target was John Cena.
Right.
That's my opinion on it. I think, and I would be delighted. Zach talked about nostalgia before. This is one of those moments where as Cena goes out like that, and I wouldn't mind seeing, that rivalry spark up. Just like I wouldn't mind if Edge would smarten up and jump back over to WWE to end that rivalry with Cena as well. I don't see that happening, but CM Punk and Paul Heyman, what do you think?
I think you're right on the nail there. It's going to lead up to something with Cena, because I can't imagine that they don't give Cena the belt. I can't imagine that.
Now, let me ask real quick. What do you think? What's your opinion on if they do keep the belt on Cody?
Then Cena's retirement tour. I mean, he's got to get the belt at some point.
Mm-hmm.
I would think, and if not at WrestleMania, then when? Backlash? SummerSlam? Like, how long of a reign do you give him? I would honestly, I'd I'd drop the belt at WrestleMania
Yeah.
because then you could build up. You could build up to SummerSlam.
Now,
You know,
also on the other side of things, because I think this, and I do you think that Cody's run has grown stale?
uh yeah, kind of.
I do too.
He really hasn't had that many defenses, and he
No.
hasn't really been wrestling. So we're getting into kind of how Roman Reigns' title
Yeah.
run was.
Yeah, and at least with on with Roman holding the belt, it made sense because he was a heel, and
Right.
he was doing movies and everything else. Whereas to Cody, if Cody was a heel, that would make sense. But Cody's their biggest babyface on both rosters. He's their main champion. And yet somehow he doesn't have that many defenses. And on top of that, like, why are we dragging the likes
Even
out of John Cena and The Rock again to come out of bed?
right.
I mean, why can't he, like, LA Knight versus Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania would sell. Who else is there? Braun Strowman and Cody Rhodes would sell. There's a lot of names that could, besides John Cena, that could have, filled the spot if Cena wasn't going to retire. That's the scenario. Cena's not going to, go this route, and he's just going to go out on his own terms. There's a bunch of things that could have been done to beef up Cody Rhodes' title run, and they haven't. We've seen him in a suit more times than we've seen him, in his
In his
wrestling
wrestling
attire
gear.
wrestling.
Yeah. I mean, even when he came back, he didn't really have that many matches on Raw or SmackDown.
No,
No,
no, not at all.
so it's almost like he's a part-timer, and I think we deserve a new champion. I don't think John Cena's what we deserve, but I think that's what's going to happen. I give John Cena maybe a 6-month title reign.
Yeah. Oh,
If
yeah,
that.
for sure. Yeah.
If that. And it's all gonna. I think eventually, CM Punk wins the title, and it's gonna be a CM Punk Cody Rhodes type of deal
Yeah.
at
Yep.
some point.
And
Yeah, that's my thoughts on that.
I wouldn't mind that. The only thing I would ask is if we're going to, if Cena's going to drop the belt. It has to be at SummerSlam. For one, you can't. I mean, that's the franchise player. He's been your biggest guy for 25 years. If you're going to put the belt on him at Mania, you have to take it off of him, and it has to make sense. It can't be one of those, oh, look at, we pulled the wool over your eyes, shot value thing. Because
Right.
you might be able to create that moment, but think of how many forgettable moments throughout WWE history that are pretty decently big moments that didn't happen on either of those two stages that I just named. And you're like, oh shit, I totally forgot about this one. You want to make that impact on a, especially on a younger, newer fan, dude. So it has to make sense. So we're gonna book Cena to win the belt at Mania, it has to be him dropping it at SummerSlam, and not only that, but the opponent has to make sense. Like, you can't just throw Cody Rhodes back in there.
No,
You know,
no, you can't. You can't. And CM Punk makes the most sense.
yeah, it does. It has to be, because that continues the whole story of Cena's retirement run, of bringing because that's one of the things that he was saying when he had first announced this is there's going to be some old nostalgia stuff and there's going to be some newer stuff in here. So we're starting to get a glimpse of the newer stuff that he's talking about, but now we're stuck here wondering, what do we have left for the older nostalgia stuff that he was talking about? And the only
Right.
thing that comes to my mind, because Edge isn't here, is CM Punk.
Yep. Yep. It's either CM Punk or you could even go Randy Orton if they could find a way to kind of bring Randy Orton into that
Yeah.
storyline.
That could be a good segue into the Kevin Owens thing.
It could be. Kevin Owens, him announcing that he's hurt. He's going to be out for a while, and honestly, it's neck surgery, right?
Yeah.
It could be career ending. Neck surgery is nothing to joke about. You know, Edge retired after having neck surgery
Yeah.
multiple times.
Oh yeah.
Um, so is this the last we see of Kevin Owens?
I hope not, dude. Because I love Kevin Owens. I've
Yep.
loved the work that he's done in WWE, outside of WWE. Like I told you before, I wasn't sure if this was a work or if this was real, but it seems like it is a real thing. And first and foremost, I hope that he is okay and can recover okay, and everything, the surgery goes well and stuff. And
Right.
I hope to see him back, but just as well as I do, the track record with this stuff isn't pretty. It's pretty ugly, actually.
Yep.
So, to answer your question, I would say I don't know because we're still, yeah,
And
Edge isn't the greatest example. I mean, he is, but he's not because look how long it took him just to be able to come back, and we're talking, you know, years. And I don't think Kevin Owens just has that much time. I don't think he really does.
I mean, you can even look at Big E.
Yeah, oh yeah, that was gonna be my
Big
next
E's
thing
been
as
out
soon.
for how
Yeah.
long?
Uh,
From a neck injury.
yeah. The last time Big E was in the ring, he was the WWE champion, I believe, and we're starting to see a little bit of him, especially with the stuff that he was doing with the New Day. But as
Right.
far as like any clips of him training in a ring or any taking any bumps at all, we haven't seen any of that, dude. So
No, we haven't.
that's the scary part of this stuff when it comes to the neck injuries. Um, I don't know, man. I want to say yes because I'm a fan of him, but at the same time, I don't see that happening, dude.
I think, yeah, if he does come back, he's really going to have to, be cautious, and he's really going to have to think of it,
Yeah,
even if he's cleared to compete. I mean, it's hard to bounce back from a neck injury, and I think that's why Big E hasn't come back. Yeah, he's cleared,
yeah,
but your neck's not as strong as it used to be. You can't take those bumps.
right.
Uh, I mean, Stone Cold, he broke his neck,
Yeah,
and
we just seen him make his
yeah,
in-ring return like what 2 years ago,
yep,
and that was even a short match.
yeah, it was, and Stone Cold's doing the right thing, obviously, not
Yeah,
getting into the ring. Uh, so I just hope Kevin takes his health into consideration. I
yeah,
wouldn't want to see
absolutely,
him
dude.
hurt further.
Absolutely,
Um,
man. So yeah,
just
we
to
hope for the
segue
best for
off of
him.
that a little bit, you watched SmackDown,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
What do they do with Randy Orton now? Because he's booked for WrestleMania.
Well, one thing, yeah, he is. The one thing that I noticed, right, was the RKO that he gave to the GM, Nick Aldis.
Yeah,
Um, a lot of people don't know this, but Nick Aldis is, a professional wrestler himself.
yeah,
He's a former world champion, not in the WWE, but he's a former world champion. Former NWA world champion, I should say. Um, there was a moment where he had RKO'd Nick Aldis before, and he had to pay a fine, and on screen, and it was a $50,000 fine. Orton gives him $100,000, and Nick Aldis says, "Well, Randy, you gave me 100," and Randy said, "Well, that's for next time." And the next time that we got was Friday.
right.
I want to say that we could see Nick Aldis versus Randy Orton as like a quick off the fly thing, maybe.
I'd be down for that.
I would too. I mean, it would open the doors to Nick Aldis,
Yeah,
or
because
even Adam
it,
Pearce too.
it's hard to kind of pivot
It
now
is.
because of the whole story between Randy Orton and Kevin Owens and all that stuff. So how Triple H handles this, I think, um, will kind of solidify like what Triple H is capable of. because this is
Absolutely.
like his first real big pivot, right? Because you're so close to Mania.
Well,
This has been
do you want to
talked
count
about
last
forever.
year's? Do you want to count last year's WrestleMania where The Rock was actually like supposed to take on Roman Reigns? Because that was actually that was booked. That was ready to go. They had to. That was the way it was supposed to go. It was supposed to actually be Roman Reigns versus The Rock at WrestleMania 40 in
Yeah, but
Philly.
that wasn't really brought up on shows and stuff, right?
That was as far as like advertised. They did it
Because I remember
once.
seeing like I remember seeing like posters and stuff for it, but I don't ever remember hearing it being brought up on like Raw or SmackDown.
Like I said, I think it was only done once or twice. It was brought up on an episode of SmackDown. And then at the was it a presser or was it a weigh-in or whatever it was? It was where they had that family tree of the Anoa'i family, and
Yeah.
Cody smacks the Rock and comes out. He says, "Yeah, that's not your right to take over the main event." So on and so forth. Um,
I remember that, but I didn't think it was like I didn't think it was like solidified that it was going to be The Rock and Roman Reigns.
yeah, I think what they did is because in that it's on the WWE YouTube channel. You can go and watch that. They mentioned it. Both Triple H and The Rock mentioned that it was set in stone. It was supposed to be Roman Reigns versus The Rock at WrestleMania 40 in Philly, and The Rock says that I listened to the fans. The fans didn't want it, so we had to pivot quickly and move to Cody Rhodes versus The Rock. I mean, Cody Rhodes versus Roman Reigns at WrestleMania. And that was one of those like big time fucking messes that at least that's what I thought was like. Yeah, no, you really wanted you wanted that main event, Rock. You really
Oh,
wanted to, and the fans chimed in, and in return, you knew yet you fucked up and you had to change it. You know what I'm saying? Whereas to this
yeah,
one with Kevin
I
Owens, it
get that.
seems like it's not the same
I think
thing.
no, it's not the same thing, but I think it's a harder situation because it's been months.
Yeah, and there's no
Months.
opponent. Like the last time you could have, they obviously made the right decision with going Cody Rhodes versus Roman
Right,
Reigns.
because that made sense.
Whereas this one,
That made sense with the story.
yeah, with this one, I mean, it could make sense with the story if he goes against Nick Aldis, but like, it really, I mean, the only way it would make sense if Randy Orton takes on Nick Aldis at WrestleMania 41 would be, as I just said, of the past clips of Randy Orton paying the $100,000 fine that he was only owed to pay 50, and said, yeah, no, this is for next time. Next time comes, he RKO's Nick Aldis in the middle of the ring, and just stares directly at the sign. That's what sold it for me. Not sold it, but like gave me a hint on this might be the direction that they're going. And
Yep.
for me, here's the reason why I wouldn't mind that match really quick is because it's something new, it's something fresh, and I seen the match between Trevor Murdoch and Nick Aldis for the NWA World Championship, where Trevor Murdoch beat him, um, and became the new champion. But other than that, like, nobody has really seen, unless you're like a big time wrestling nerd and you've seen everything. Like nobody's really seen Nick Aldis wrestle at all.
No.
So it'd be something
No.
nice and refreshing, and it would give Nick Aldis that WrestleMania moment in which he deserves. And it would give Randy Orton something to do, and who better to work with than Randy Orton?
Right. He's been in the WWE
And Randy Orton,
forever.
yeah, exactly. And Randy Orton can make him look like $1 million.
Oh, definitely. Definitely.
But if that's not the way they go, I mean, I understand it. Or like, I think the biggest thing that we're missing here is if this is a work, and Kevin Owens just sold the best acting job of his life, and was like, yeah, I can't compete, and the next thing you know, we get Owens and Orton at Mania, then that's even better. That's a really big shock. That's what they want, a big shock factor, and
Right.
they could go that way, man, and I would be all right with it.
Yeah, I'd be okay with either way. Um, so let's segue off of this and just real quick talk about Ray Fenix making his debut.
Yeah.
Um, I think they could have did it with somebody with more star power than Nathan Frazier.
Yeah, I think that the only reason why they did it is because of the the similar body builds, uh, the fact that Phoenix is, well, obviously he's a luchador, he's a high flying guy. You want to put him in there with somebody like that to show off his talent, get people used to him and stuff like that. I agree with you. I think that they could have done it with because there's so many high flying guys now,
Yeah.
on both sides. So I don't know, man. But as far as Ray Phoenix goes, it was really nice to see to see him on screen again. It's been a while. You know, the the biggest thing that got me was the shot that they captured of him crying at the end while he was leaning on that rope. That to me told me that this is where he wanted to be the whole time, and
Oh
he's
yeah.
happy. His dreams have come true, and I'm happy for him. I wanted this for him. Um, and one thing that I want to bring up though is the logos. If you notice, Penta's logo is very similar to Ray Fenix's logo, and even though they're
Yeah.
both on different shows, that tells me that they're leaving that door open for the Lucha Brothers to get back together on WWE television for the first time, and that would
Yeah,
be
the draft will be coming up here after WrestleMania,
yeah,
so I
exactly, yep.
guarantee that's what they're going to be going with.
So that excites me a lot. There was a lot of stuff about Ray Phoenix that I liked in that debut match, and the SmackDown Tag Division, other than the Motor City Machine Guns and DIY and Street Profits, you really ain't got nothing.
Nope.
You got a lot
I
more
mean,
than
the tag
Raw.
division itself,
Yeah,
is kind of stale right now.
there's no New Day, there's no Usos, and those two are the main two players in the tag division. And with the Usos locked on the world title and the New Day, locked on Big E, which you talk about neck injuries. I'm thinking that we're gonna get Big E versus New Day at Mania. I'll go out on a limb and say that. I'm not seeing a lot of that, but I wouldn't be surprised if that's the direction we go. And hopefully after that, the New Day, focus on being a tag team once more, just like the
Right.
Usos. I mean, you guys know how I feel about that kind of stuff. I feel like the Usos belong in the tag division. It was nice to see Jay go out there and at least give a shot at a singles title run. But yeah, no, send his ass
Yeah.
back to the tag division and let him run it there because they're so good. And the tag division, like you said, lacks so much. But yeah, dude, I'm excited for Ray Phoenix and the tag division if they go that route because we're gonna
Yeah.
get a lot of good action.
Oh yeah, most definitely. Just real quick, want to touch on LA Knight beating Tama Tonga.
Yeah,
This whole thing with Tama Tonga and Solo Sikoa, I think they're dragging that out a little bit too much too. That's just my take, just real quick.
I do too.
I, I'm glad you agree. They definitely need to give LA Knight some more love and give him some, I wouldn't say better competition, but get him to the star power that they know he is.
Exactly.
You know,
They're wasting so much
that's
time.
just where I'm at on it.
They're wasting so much time with LA Knight right now. It's first it was the back and forth thing with him and Shinsuke. They took the belt off of him for God knows what reason to
Right.
put it on Shinsuke. And what did it do for Shinsuke? Because I don't see it doing anything.
No.
You know.
No, it's not doing anything.
Yeah, dude. So with that, I don't know, man. LA Knight deserves a hell of a lot more than that.
Oh, he does, and we preach about that every time we talk about the WWE and we bring up LA Knight. He deserves a lot more. So I think the last thing we're going to really talk about that's notable, is how Charlotte Flair got cooked on the mic
Oh yeah.
by
Yeah,
Tiffany
dude.
Stratton.
Um,
Um,
I did not
I'm
expect that.
excited. No, I didn't expect it either, and I don't think any of the fans watching expected that. Um, because Charlotte's been around, she knows how to talk on that mic. Uh, she knows how to lay it down.
Yeah.
I'm kind of excited for this match. I wasn't really too excited, but I'm excited because Tiffany's going to get the biggest pop ever, and I can't imagine that they drop the belt to Charlotte Flair.
See, with that, it's the same thing with like Rhea Ripley. You know,
Yeah, but Tiffany doesn't have the star power
no. What
that
I mean
Rhea
is like
does.
they're shoving it down our throats, and it's the same thing. With Charlotte. That's exactly what they're doing right now.
Yeah,
The
I
biggest
can see
thing,
that.
um, the biggest thing for me is like for one, I said like I said, it's very unexpected because as Zach stated before, Charlotte is really good on the mic, and I didn't expect her to get like flamed like that on the mic by somebody like Tiffany Stratton. Um, Tiffany is really good. I got to hear in my notes that she is the leader of this women's division going for because Rhea, she's up there already. Um, Charlotte and Bailey, they're all in that category. But now we have a new star emerging. That's Tiffany Stratton.
Oh yeah.
The fans are behind her. She's got really good in-ring skills, and now that we've seen this, we know she can go toe to toe on the mic with anybody
Oh
now.
yeah.
If she got past Charlotte Flair, you know, the world is her oyster. Charlotte Charlotte really failed, in my opinion, and that's because like the ending, like the ending to that promo where she said, "Oh, Ludwig's in my DMs." That made
Yeah.
no sense at all, at all. I mean, I get it, the build up. Before Tiffany was talking about, how she's 0-3 in her marriages and stuff like that, but Ludwig is on Raw for one, and those two are lock and key. Just like
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Like Charlotte should have probably have never went down that route. She probably just should have went another direction with it instead of going out because like
Well, they went off script.
well
This was
yeah I know but like
after the show ended.
yeah oh yeah I know that but I'm saying like I would have never made those type of accusations knowing damn well that there's no foundation, not even in
Right.
character to that, like cuz Tiffany was pulling from like real life, and there's one thing that I do want to touch on with that. The whole like cuz you know how the Flair family had their loss to David, and I felt like that when Tiffany brought up like the drinking issues because of Charlotte's mental health, like that was
Yep.
kind of like crossing the line.
A little bit. Yeah.
But this isn't the first time, and it ain't gonna be the last time we've seen this kind of stuff from WWE,
No.
especially with these guys going, haywire, off script, on live television, dude. It was juicy, it was messy. It's everything that you really want in a promo in a build up to a big championship match, such as the WWE Women's Championship, which is prestigious, held by the likes of Mae Young, Fabulous Moolah, Trish Stratus, Lita. You want this kind of build up for it. I don't want it to get to the point where it's like a Drew McIntyre and LA Knight thing, or a CM
Right.
Punk and Jungle Boy thing, where these guys get so fucking into it that they can't. You know what I'm saying? Like
They can't control themselves
yeah.
off screen.
Yeah, because Tiffany, walked away almost in a sense. She hit the woo and then bounced up out of the ring, and then Charlotte
Yep.
talked about the DMs thing as and you could tell that didn't even phase Tiffany. As soon as that line
No.
hit, she kept on. Her stride didn't change. Her body language didn't change. She knew that there was no foundation to that statement at all.
Yeah. Charlotte was just kind of,
She was trying to
kind of
riff.
fish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm. And
And I just saw what today that Tiffany posted a a video of her working out or whatever, and uh, Kaiser posted on there, said, "Check your DMs."
See, speaking of which, as soon as that hit, did you see his Twitter? Because he posted on
No.
there. He said he posted a GIF or a short video of Shawn Michaels, and I don't remember her name. He said, "Don't flatter yourself, sweetheart." Uh, and that really got me, to chuckle a little bit because it's like, oh, okay, so now we're breaking. Not only are we breaking down the fourth wall in this segment, like Charlotte's getting cooked by not just Tiffany now, but by outsiders along with everybody else. So it's gonna be
Yep.
interesting to see where this is going. But as far as like, Zach and I talk about building stars in this episode, and who else better to do it than Charlotte Flair? Um,
Yep.
Real quick though, if you want to get down to the comparisons into it, because this was off script and it came from the heart, and these two were heated. Like, since Charlotte has gotten that, she could say that she's never gotten any work done, but dude, we know about the boobs, and we could see it in the face now. Uh, Tiffany, I don't know her, like, surgical or medical record, if you will, in the past.
I don't think Tiffany's had any work
But
done.
these two are day and night. Obviously, Tiffany is, a lot more attractive than Charlotte, and so your fans are also adding that in there. I don't find that nearly as important as the other Easter eggs that we have that we were given in that promo. I graded this an A+, dude, because yeah, it's rare that we get to see this kind of stuff. The last time, and I have it here, the last time that I remember seeing something that's so off script was Seth Rollins and Matt Riddle. Do you remember that?
Yeah. Yeah, I think so.
Where they were via
Yeah.
satellite, and Seth ran down Matt about his family and his family leaving him, and
Oh yeah,
it
yeah,
got
yeah.
kind of
I
it
do
got kind of
remember
ugly
that.
and deep there, and called him a bitch and on live television and all this other vulgar stuff, dude. So yeah, man, it's like I said, I just hope that it doesn't spill outside of the world of wrestling here, and
I don't think it will.
I really hope
I don't
not.
think it will.
I really
I,
hope not.
not saying that like CM Punk and all them aren't professional, but Charlotte Flair's been around for long enough, and she's been in enough feuds. I think she's professional enough to keep it, in the ring and keep it working. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And not bring out outside influences. Uh,
you know,
you know, that's what I think. I think
absolutely.
she's just too professional for that.
That's a great point, and I'm glad that you bring it up because, dude, in closing, my final note that I have on this is I don't know if Charlotte Flair is a Flair because there's no way in hell that Ric Flair would have let this shit happen if he was on the mic. You know damn well he wouldn't. He'd throw off his
No,
blazer, his
not in his
shoes would come
prime.
off. He'd start throwing bows onto the blazer. He would have segued into something else other than trying to get a little bit messier. The
Right.
promo skills between her and her dad are different. Uh, Another thing too that just came to mind. Um, Tiffany had threw Ric Flair into the conversation as well. I thought that was a nice dig at Charlotte. Comparing Flair to her dad. And because
That's
they're
not the first time that's happened, though. I
no,
think
no,
every promo that has anything to do with Charlotte Flair or big match, somebody always brings that up.
but the reason why I like this kind of stuff is because it solidifies Charlotte Flair as a mainstay in the women's division. Let's not forget she's a 14-time world champion.
Right.
And I believe she holds the record, just like her dad for the most championships. Um,
Yeah.
so
I think she does too.
whenever that kind of stuff gets brought up, my mind, at least in my opinion, it goes straight to the world championships, and it's a nice little Easter egg to remind you, like Charlotte Flair is the woman to beat, and you know how Flair goes. If you want to be the man, you have to beat the man.
Right.
And my pick at WrestleMania 41 is Tiffany Stratton to win the belt. She's gonna
Most
stay
definitely.
champion. And if this
She
doesn't,
definitely stays champion.
bro, I would lose my shit because we're backpedaling now. If Charlotte Flair goes and wins the belt at Mania, we're backpedaling. We're backpedaling. We're not going in a new direction.
No.
We're backpedaling into the old stuff. The four horsewomen are done and over with. Becky Lynch
Yep.
is nowhere to be found. Fucking Sasha Banks is over there playing touch butt with Tony Khan, and Bailey is being a fucking workhorse now. Charlotte
Right.
Flair gets returns. Her biggest return is in the Royal Rumble. She wins the fucking thing and now gets the headline WrestleMania.
Well, presumably a headline.
Yeah. No, you're right. You're right.
But I believe Tiffany Stratton wins. I can't imagine them putting it on Charlotte because where do you go from there? Unless you're making a big feud, like the Tiffany drops the belt and then wins it back at like WrestleMania Backlash, or God forbid it goes to SummerSlam. I would hope not. I would hope it would just be a quick reign for Charlotte, but Tiffany definitely needs to win this one.
Yeah, absolutely.
Charlotte had her time. Charlotte's had her time, and it's sad to say that her time is up. I think there's much better women in the division now, and I would even put Bailey over her because Bailey, like you said, she's putting in that work.
She is.
That I just think Charlotte's time is done.
I think so too. I really think so too. But if that's all you got on the world of wrestling, I have some breaking news here. Tyreek Hill of the Miami Dolphins. It was released by Adam Schefter on Twitter. Tyreek Hill, Dolphins wide receiver, and his wife were involved in a domestic dispute, according to this police report. Thoughts on that real quick?
I mean,
this isn't the first time.
It's not the first time, no. And it's sad that this happens to NFL players. Like, I don't know, maybe it's just the stress of playing, or maybe it's just how they are, but domestic violence is not okay. And
no.
And I don't know, we don't know the situation. Was it him? Was it her? Regardless, it's not okay. I just hope it works out for the both of them,
Yeah.
And here's some, closing thoughts on this. If you are in a toxic relationship, if you are afraid that, you're afraid of your spouse, or you're afraid that you can't leave them, or do anything on your own, you can, and there's always help. I'm a big advocate for domestic violence, like to find help. There's always help. You can call somebody, you can call a friend, you can talk to a therapist. Whatever it is, you can do it.
Yeah.
And I get it. It's hard and it's traumatizing, but get out of the situation.
Yeah. Real quick before I add to that. So I found the article. It's released. It's by ESPN. April 9th, 2025 at 6:26 p.m. Eastern. The last paragraph states that the mother-in-law told responding officers that Hill, 31, was aggressive and impulsive, and that she was afraid for her daughter. According to the report, she said that Hill threw a laptop on the floor and grabbed his baby before walking toward the balcony. That's all that is. And it also states that Tyreek Hill's agent hasn't responded to the telephone to comment, and I don't see that happening until maybe tomorrow or maybe later on this week. And to add more to Zach's statement, because it's 110% the truth, it doesn't matter who's right or who's wrong during that argument. What matters is that nobody puts their hands on each other, or even gets any close to that, and that goes for like throwing objects, what have you. There's no room for that at all. Violence is never the answer. I know like, on this show we talk about the world of wrestling, the world of mixed martial arts. I train in jujitsu and stuff like that. Zach's family has a past of, boxing and stuff like that. But that's no excuse to be putting your hands on anybody. Doesn't matter if it's your wife, your boyfriend, husband, whatever the case may be. That should be something that everybody thinks is not okay. And I don't want to comment on the Tyreek Hill situation as of right yet
No,
until we get more information, because I feel
no,
like that's
because we
just
don't know the
unfair.
situation.
Yeah,
We don't know the situation, but the situation is, and honestly, I'll retract that because it shouldn't matter about the situation.
yeah,
That should never happen.
yeah, absolutely. Like Zach said, that no matter what the case is, none of this should ever happen at all. And it's like it's just wrong. And Zach made a great point. Because in the world of sports, the spotlight gets bigger and bigger on these guys. And let's not forget, and this is no excuse because I'm not even going to tie Tyreek's name into everything else. But let's not forget that these guys are young athletes with $1 million.
Right.
I've never had that kind of money in my life, and I'm 31. I don't know how I would react, and I would hope that I would have, mannerisms as I do today to keep my hands to myself and stuff like that. But yeah, that's no excuse though. That's still no excuse. You should never resort to laying your hands on anybody. And I seen a lot of these cases where the girl starts it and she hits and then the boy retaliates. Even that is not okay.
No.
If that ever happens, you walk away and call the police. That's what you should do. Is no matter if your girlfriend or wife hits you, okay, walk out, call the police and let the police handle it. That's what they get paid to do.
Yep.
Excuse me. And vice versa. If you're a girl and your guy hits you, same thing. Walk away and call the police because it's just not okay to be putting your hands. You don't know what could happen. You know, somebody could get seriously injured, or God forbid, worse. And I don't want to be, on this platform announcing that so and so, had gotten seriously hurt or worse. And I know Zach
Right.
doesn't either. So,
No.
Zach, that was some negative news. Do you want to try and lighten it up at all?
Oh, let's see. What is in the world of news today? Trying to see if we can find something to end on a happy note. On a happy note, I think the Pirates lost today.
Yeah.
So-
Oh shit, that's funny.
That's always a good thing to see when the
Yeah.
Pirates lose. Oh no, they won. They won. Fuck.
Well,
That's a sad note. That's a sad note.
yeah.
They won.
Uh,
They beat the Cardinals 2-1.
So we'll end on this, okay? So if you see something, say something. And
Yep.
from the words of the wise, Pat McAfee always ends his show on this. So why don't we just steal that one time from him? Be a friend, tell a friend something nice. It might change their life. And just stay positive, everybody, for real. Stay positive and do good. Do good by yourself. And remember that God is always watching you. And that's all I got, man.
That's all I got. And with that, I'm not even going to say the outro. You did the damn thing. So tune into the next episode of the Benchwarmers podcast.
All right. Peace.